Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to Spirit of Islam. I'm your host, Ashraf Zaghloul. And today, inshallah, we'll carry on what we've discussed in previous weeks, is some of the questions about Islam. And I would like to introduce my guest today, Sidrah Shams. Assalamu alaikum, Sidrah.
Wa alaikum salam.
And welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
You know, as I mentioned earlier, we like to deal with some of the questions that goes in young people's mind or goes through some of your friends that's Muslims or non-Muslims. So what questions do they have for us?
Well, I'm going to get right into it. I want to start off with talking about a criticism that comes towards Islam a lot of the times, and that is the idea of violence in Islam. So first of all, what is jihad? Second of all, there are people who are quoting the Holy Qur'an saying that in the Qur'an it says kill the infidels and kill the non-believers. What is the truth behind this controversy?
Good. And when we say violence and jihad, they're two different things. The word jihad is an Arabic word meaning struggle. And the struggle really is, in a way, life is a constant struggle. We have to tame ourselves and control ourselves. As humans, we have urges, we have needs. And Islam tries to control these urges and needs, and hence comes this jihad or struggle where you struggle with yourself to improve yourself and get better. So we look at jihad in a way, in a society or a community, in two parts: struggle with the self and then struggling with others. So struggling with self, meaning self-control, living in peace with others, and that's one type of jihad. The type of jihad that the media focus on is, in Islam, you have to protect, which is self-protection. And so jihad in Islam is to protect yourself, protect your country, protect your nation, protect others. So Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for example, says, "Unsur akhak zaliman aw mazluman." Protect and support your brother, whether he was just or unjust. So the companion said, Rasulullah, so if injustice happened to our brother, we know why we would support him. But what about if he was he was unjust to others? How could we support him? He said, you support him by slapping his hand and telling him he's wrong. And you look at jihad, in both cases applies. So if there's injustice against him and you are supporting him and helping him, this is one jihad. If your brother is wrong and you do jihad by slapping him and telling him he's wrong, so it's really not kind of violence or anything. It's a thing that the community has to be part of life and go and help justice and help things to be right. So no, Islam does not call for any kind of violence. Islam is like all other religions. You don't find a religion that says go and kill others. And Islam is no different. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought all the religions down to spread peace and law and order. So there's no such thing as violence. And yes, you find some people say in the Qur'an it says kill the infidels. Why? They take things out of context. If you take the whole sentence, or usually this ayat that talks about fighting, first the ayat starts by saying لا تعتدوا, do not be aggressors and do not be attackers. So, but if somebody attacks you, you defend yourself. And this is the international law says everybody has the right to defend themselves. And yes, this is a type of jihad. Somebody attacked you and you defend yourself. So if you look in detail, in Islam, never does it say just go and kill anybody. There's no such a thing in religion to kill. Religion is for peace and for mercy for mankind. But if you are attacked, you have the right for self-defense, which nobody disagree on this concept. And if it's called jihad, that you self-defend yourself and protect yourself, this, that's what it's called. But there is you cannot, without taking it out of context, and some people come and say, see in the Quran it says kill, but read that before it and read what's after it. And it is in the context of protect yourself, have peace. In this ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says if they want peace, stop. So you are defending yourself, and yet if the aggressor still wants peace, you stop. And that's how. But yet some people take it out of context, that one sentence, without reading the whole spirit. And that's what Islam is about. And when I say this, I don't just say it's non-Muslims. Some Muslims misunderstand the Qur'an. And that's one of our biggest things. A lot of Muslims misunderstand and misrepresent the Qur'an. When you live the Qur'an, you have to live it through understanding the all and understanding the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we find that he was never an aggressor. He's always taken the peaceful side and the easy side.
Yeah. Another thing, I was reading about this recently, and I read somewhere that the Prophet Muhammad himself said that the best amongst you are those that are good to your family. And that for me ties into the whole idea of violence in Islam, because there's also talk about aggression and violence against women in Islam. So, and we see this in the media where although there are honor killings taking place all over the world, it is being done in the name of Islam. So what is Islam's view on honor killings?
Well, it's a murder, and anybody who commits something like this will be punished. Islam has no view other than it's a crime. That some Muslims do it, and sadly do it in the name of Islam, doesn't make it right. It's wrong. Islam does not condone any punishment or any violence. And this, it's sad. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people misunderstand Islam and misrepresent it. To kill in the name of a religion is totally haram. In religion, it says, an eye for an eye. Somebody who killed somebody unjustly, yes, you kill them. But dishonor killing, there's no killing, there is no crime here. So we have to understand that Islam does not allow it. It is a crime. And all this kind of violence is so sad. I cannot comprehend somebody who says, I'm a good Muslim, and violence. Whether it's violence against women, children, other people, it doesn't matter. Islam is a deen, is a religion of love and peace, and there's no violence against anybody. The best example, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, the best of you is the best to his neighbor. And the neighbor doesn't say whether he's a Muslim or a non-Muslim. You have to be good. If you live through the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you find that it teaches us tolerance, it teaches us good relations, and this violence, honestly, sadly, I don't know where it came from. And yet, the worst part is when some people say they do it in the name of Islam, which Islam totally has nothing to do with it.
Exactly. Like you said, if we look at the life of the Prophet Muhammad, we will learn, a lot of things that you can apply in your daily life just to show people that you're about peace. You don't have to talk about it as much as you should apply it to your daily life, and people will see it. I'll talk about an example that I read somewhere where the Prophet Muhammad, when he was when the book was revealed and he was spreading Islam, there were a lot of people in the city that started to dislike him for it. And so every morning when he used to get out of the house and he used to go out, he would pass by this lady's house, and this lady used to throw her garbage on top of his head. And what he would do is just kind of, let her have her time and then walk on. And a few days later, he was walking through and he realized that she did not throw anything at him today. So he decided to look around and find out what happened to her, and heard from the people that she was ill. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ decided to go and visit this woman and aid her in her illness. And it's unbelievable, these examples that you'll read about the Prophet and his life, and the way that he treated people. And we always hear about this today, the quote that treat other people the way you would want to treat you want to be treated. And you can see that in the literal sense in the life of the Prophet Muhammad. So it's things like this that if you really study the hadith and you study what went on during that time of Prophet Muhammad, you'll learn that there is every lesson that you can learn about your life.
And, when they asked Aisha radiallahu anha, the wife of the Prophet Muhammad, tell us about Prophet Muhammad, she said, he is a walking Qur'an. meaning his life is the Qur'an. So if you want to understand the Qur'an, don't come and take a couple of words and say this is the Qur'an. Go and study the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and because this is the interpretation, this is the application of the Qur'an, and then you will understand how peaceful, how wonderful it is, rather than say it's a religion of violence because I found a word or something like this. You know, you'll find his life full of peace, full of love. And that's what I encourage Muslims and non-Muslims. Go and read about his life. Read about his life with open mind and say, this is the Prophet of Islam.
Exactly. That brings me to another point that I think we should discuss, is the idea of fundamentalism in Islam. We hear the term a lot. We hear Islamic terrorism, but we also hear Islamic fundamentalism. What is the definition of the term, first of all? And what is the background of this term? Does it even apply?
What's the definition of the term? There is no such thing as fundamentalism in Islam, so there is no Islamic definition of the term.